All right, let's dive into a story that's equal parts inspiring and mind-boggling. Imagine this, an 82-year-old grandfather and his 18-year-old grandson cycling 5,300 kilometers across Australia. Not just for the thrill of it, but to raise $500,000 for Motor Neurone Disease, MND, research. Personally, I think this is one of those stories that makes you stop and rethink what's possible at any age. What makes this really interesting is the dynamic between Bob Montgomery and his grandson, Tom Malcolm. It's not just a physical challenge, it's a bond being tested and strengthened over 6 weeks of harsh winds, deserts, and early mornings. Here's the thing, this isn't Bob's first rodeo. He's done 5 charity rides for MND, and this one, dubbed One Last Ride by his wife, feels like a culmination of his dedication. But what many people don't realize is how personal this cause is for him. He lost a cousin to MND during his first ride at 70. That's the kind of loss that sticks with you, and it's what fuels his determination. When he says, "We can put our feet up at the end of the day, but for people with MND, there's no end," it hits hard. It's a reminder of why this matters beyond the miles. Now, let's talk about the logistics. Averaging 160 kilometers a day. That's insane. I've cycled a fraction of that and felt like I'd been hit by a truck. What this really suggests is that physical endurance is only part of the battle. It's the mental game that keeps you going. Bob mentions the wind being in their faces the entire time, a detail I find fascinating because it's such a metaphor for life's challenges. Sometimes, no matter how hard you push, the obstacles just keep coming. But here's where it gets interesting. Bob says he'd reverse the course next time. In my opinion, that's not just about avoiding headwinds, it's about learning from experience and adapting. Tom's role in this is equally compelling. He admits it took months to agree to the ride, which makes sense. At 18, most of us are figuring out college or work, not cycling across a continent. But what stands out is his admiration for his grandfather. He calls Bob the big catalyst for joining the ride. If you take a step back and think about it, this is a story of intergenerational connection. It's not just about raising money, it's about a grandson seeing his grandfather's passion and deciding to be part of it. That's powerful. The community support they received is another layer to this story. Donations came from Australia, the UK, Switzerland, New Zealand, even a message from someone living with MND who said, "I can't ride, so I appreciate what you're doing." That's the kind of impact that goes beyond numbers. It's about giving hope to people who feel powerless. And let's not forget the tributes to Neil Daniher and Jay Arrow, both AFL figures who battled MND. Bob calls Daniher his hero, and it's clear why, because visibility matters. When public figures share their struggles, it amplifies the cause. But here's the kicker. Bob says this won't be his last adventure. He's already eyeing the Kokoda Trail with his grandsons. Personally, I think that's the most inspiring part. At 82, he's not slowing down, he's planning the next challenge. It raises a deeper question. What's stopping the rest of us? If an 82-year-old can cycle across Australia, what excuses do we have for not pursuing our own passions? So, here's my closing thought. This story isn't just about cycling or fundraising. It's about resilience, family, and the power of a single decision to make a difference. Bob and Tom didn't just ride 5,300 kilometers, they showed us what it means to live with purpose. And that, my friends, is something we can all take away from this. What's your one last ride? What cause or challenge are you willing to push through for? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.